Every time I put this on, somebody dies.
And?
I like putting it on.
Goody. Something tells me a whole lot of people are about to die.
Welcome back to Director's Choice. Today we're going to be talking about Margot Robbie and her role as Harley Quinn and the things that she had to do to make sure that she was right for the role. As with any iconic characters, taking on that mantle comes with a lot of responsibility, and we don't just mean that from a Spider-Man perspective. Even actors in the Disney theme parks have very specific rules of how they're supposed to conduct themselves around park guests, even having their own signature and way that they have to learn. So to take on Harleen Quinzel, what were the strict rules that Margot Robbie had to follow? Harley Quinn has a very specific look, and part of that signature style is her white face, which is much more apparent in the comics and cartoons as a white face because of her jester-like appearance.
What's this all about, Waller?
Just call the bank, honey. They'll get you a new one. Road trip! Hey, we got cheese dogs and chicken nuggies.
This idea was carried through into the film, and Margot had to spend time making sure that her skin was as light as possible, spending hours in makeup for every scene. Not just her face, but arms, legs, torso, any bit of her that was exposed. Meaning that every new scene where there was a costume change, she had to go back and do makeup for her arms or shoulders, which would take about 20 minutes per scene. And this was also true of the tattoos that she had in the film. Every day she would have to wake up early to go to get them reapplied to the exact same position, and that took a lot of time and dedication. Jared Leto in Suicide Squad also had a pretty intense makeup routine where he had to shave his entire body and make sure his tattoos were in the same place as well. It wasn't compulsory for him to shave his body, but that was a choice that he made. This, combined with the wig and other makeup and clothing accessories, took almost 3 hours every day for her to get into makeup and into character.
Look is insane, and the hair and makeup was a real process. I mean, it was a 3-hour process every single day. We'd do the body paint, completely paint me white. Then there were 20 tattoos to put on, and a wig, and then the makeup, and then whatever cuts and bruises Harley had acquired by that point in the film. So 3-hour process. It was fun though. It's always like the best time to get into your character, and once you look like that, you kind of, I feel ready, like I feel like I'm Harley.
You people.
We're bad guys, it's what we do.
Another thing Margot Robbie learned to do was hold her breath for 5 minutes. This wasn't an enforceable rule, but it was definitely something that brought the character to life in the scene. In Suicide Squad, after a car chase with Batman, Harley Quinn is dumped into the river and is forced to hold her breath for about a minute in the scene, but because of the way things are filmed, it made more sense for her to be able to hold her breath for 5 whole minutes, so that the scene could be shot from multiple angles, done over and over again, and there just needed to be extra time. Margot famously was in a bit of a rivalry with her stunt double to see who could hold their breath for the longest. Robbie worked hard to make sure that she learned all the underwater moves and trained hard to hold her breath underwater, which took a lot of physical and psychological strength. And this preparation also went through to her workout routine. Robbie trained incredibly hard to get into shape for Harley Quinn. She focused on a lot of cardio and mixed in some gymnastics and ballet moves as well. Harley Quinn is known for being a prolific fighter and kind of an acrobat, and if Margot Robbie was to do as many of her own stunts as possible, she would have to be in the best shape of her life. She trained hard for 6 months in the lead up to Suicide Squad, and thankfully Birds of Prey wasn't filmed too much later than that, so she was able to continue her workout routine. And of course, we can't talk about her getting into great shape physically without talking about her diet. Margot Robbie had to go on a very strict and precise diet so that she could get into great shape. This involved cutting out a lot of her favorite foods and having to swap snacks from burgers to carrot sticks. But when you're as dedicated to the role as Margot Robbie, you make these sacrifices and it really shows. Unfortunately, Margot Robbie had to learn the hard way about what it means to be in a superhero film. Shortly after appearing in Suicide Squad, she was inundated by fans, both good and bad. Crazed fans had been following, stalking her, and posting death threats, causing Robbie to have to increase her security, often paying out of pocket herself to do so. This is unfortunately something that she had not seen beforehand going into the film, and is unfortunately an unwritten rule of playing such an iconic character. And arguably the strictest and most difficult rule to follow is how to deal with actor Jared Leto. Jared Leto is famously a method actor, which means there's not a lot you can do in preparation for him. You just have to be there and do your best. Jared had a very strict no rehearsals policy and would stay in character outside of takes and give people very strange gifts, giving Margot Robbie a rat. She was a good sport about it, eventually naming it Rat Rat and keeping it at home. Outside of the character herself, Margot Robbie still had to abide by the rules of the DC Extended Universe, which involve things like not having an R rating, keeping jokes to a minimum, and not appearing in other franchises. Unless you're Ben Affleck who could be Daredevil and Batman, or maybe you were Tom Hardy and you got to be Venom and Bane. Or maybe you were Ryan Reynolds and you were Deadpool and Green Lantern. You know what, maybe that's not such a strict rule. Even the R rating rule has been lifted for Birds of Prey. And that's all for our video today, guys. Thanks for watching. Take a look at this other recent clip by Director's Choice and make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified with our latest videos.